Hey, it's Geoff Mosher with another Inside the Birds Minute. I want to talk about the offensive coordinator search and the lethargy around that search, at least as far as the public and hearing names and obviously the vacancy not yet being filled. About a week ago, I did a post for YouTube, for the Inside the Birds YouTube channel, and I said everybody needs to relax. I felt like there were people who were jumping to conclusions that people felt that the Eagles were getting turned down left and right, and that this had become problematic for the team, and that they were headed down a bad path. And the one thing I said was, they've interviewed a few guys, but we don't know for sure if they have offered any of these guys. It could have just been due diligence. I stand by that, but it's now more than a week later since that post, and you really haven't heard much coming out of NovaCare as far as who the team is going to at least interview, or if they had intentions of hiring any of the names that they wanted to speak to. I think Mike Kafka is someone they obviously liked and probably would have loved to get their hands on, but we all know the story there with him staying in Kansas City. Graham Harrell staying in USC. James Urban staying with the Ravens. So again, I don't know if any of those guys were definitely going to be offered a job by the Eagles or were offered, but I don't know that they weren't either. And so here we are, more than a week since my last post on the position, and I'm hearing the same kind of things about the Eagles, and now I'm starting to think a week later, it's fair to question where this search is going. So a lot of people, and myself included, believe that the Eagles might have their eyes on one of the assistant coaches in the Super Bowl. Obviously, Mike Kafka has already been ruled out. So you look to the 49ers, they've got two really good assistant coaches on offense, one being Mike McDaniel, who's the run game coordinator, the other being their passing game coordinator, and his name is Mike LaFleur. He is the brother of Matt LaFleur, who is the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Mike LaFleur, I guess in some form or fashion you can say, is connected to Sean McVay, right? Because Matt LaFleur and Sean McVay were assistants on Jay Gruden's staff in the Washington Redskins a couple of years ago. Before then, McVay went out to L.A. So if you believe that anybody who is in any capacity loosely connected to Sean McVay is a hot ticket or someone you want to hire, well, then you can put that label on Mike LaFleur, who again is the brother of Matt LaFleur. As far as them being candidates for the Eagles, I think it would make a lot of sense. Let's go back to Mike McDaniel, the run game coordinator. Now, it's been said that a guy like Deuce Staley or other candidates for the Eagles offensive coordinator job who have the word run in their title would not be enticing because the Eagles are looking for somebody who is well-versed in the art of passing concepts. But with Mike McDaniel, even though he's the run game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, he has also been a wide receivers coach before. He does have experience in the passing elements of the game. It just so happens to be that his job right now is coordinating the run game along with head coach Kyle Shanahan. And look, he should be a very interesting candidate because, as you've seen with the 49ers, their run offense is probably the best, if not definitely the best, in football. And not just because it's effective, but because it's innovative. I mean, misdirection, motion, everything. I mean, the run game, you've seen what's happened with Raheem Mostert out there in the conference championship game. He was unbelievable. And the run game is a big part of what the 49ers do and a big part of what Kyle Shanahan has always done. So, but a big point I want to make is this. For Mike McDaniel, the passing game coordinator, Mike LaFleur, the passing game coordinator, and for Mike McDaniel, the run game coordinator, I don't think that their candidacy would be any different than Mike Kafka's in that both of them right now hold very prominent jobs as assistants to the head coach. And either one of those guys would almost be serving the same exact role in Philadelphia under Doug Peterson as offensive coordinator. They may get the fancier title, offensive coordinator, but they're not calling plays. And for Doug, it would involve being your passing game coordinator. That's something that I just mentioned Mike LaFleur is already doing for the 49ers and something that Mike McDaniel would or could do if he were on the Eagles, but he's already coordinating the run game for the 49ers. So the only upgrade is the title offensive coordinator, but the job remains the same. And I would say I don't think in the NFL these days you need to have the title of offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to get a head coaching job. I bet you at this time next year, Mike Kafka will be a head coaching candidate and will start doing interviews. And he is still right now with Eric Bieniemy there for another year. He's still just considered the quarterback's coach / passing game coordinator. Mike McDaniel and Mike LaFleur are getting a lot of attention this week, and they've gotten a lot of attention for the second half of the year for their work done. So they will be head coaching candidates just based on what they do for the 49ers alone. So again, a move to offensive coordinator for the Eagles would be lateral except for the title. And Kyle Shanahan could easily decide to give these guys co-offensive coordinator titles, because that's basically what they are already, and bump up their pay to keep them. So he could also block them, because as we know, you can block anybody in the NFL other than for head coach and GM responsibilities. Now, I don't know that Kyle Shanahan would do that, but again, I don't know why those two guys, either of them, would want to leave for basically the same exact role in Philadelphia if the money were still the same in San Francisco, and if they got a title of co-offensive coordinator that maybe even increased their chances of getting a job based on title alone. So where does that leave the Eagles? Sort of grasping at straws if one of these two guys is really their main ticket. I don't see a scenario. I could be wrong, but I just don't see how either one of those two guys would want to jump ship to Philadelphia to basically do the same thing. And so I think it's fair to say this is starting to feel like the time that Andy Reid was looking for a defensive coordinator. He had already hired Jim Washburn to coach the defensive line, and that was a turnoff for a lot of candidates. I believe Todd Bowles was one. Dennis Allen was a name I heard that was involved in the search at the time. And then what happened was you wound up with Juan Castillo, the offensive line coach, taking the job as defensive coordinator because Andy was out of options. And so how would that parlay to what Doug is going through right now? It almost feels like Press Taylor, the quarterback's coach, is going to be the guy named offensive coordinator because the options may run dry. I'm not reporting anything. I'm just saying it feels like it's going that same direction. Now, the Eagles could have some other guys. You know, there's Marty Morningwig, there's Jim Caldwell. There are names out there, and maybe they just want to do diligence on these two 49ers candidates before they go that other route. But it certainly feels at this point now that the Eagles had a list of candidates. They were not able to land their top guys, and will have to, in the end, go with somebody who's probably wasn't at the top of their list. But as we've seen before, and I'll say this again, why I don't panic about these things or why I don't think it sends the worst message is Frank Reich was probably not at the top of their list years ago. He just happened to be an unemployed offensive coordinator who played quarterback and has experience with quarterbacks, and he worked out fairly well. But I do think it's fair to say that this search seems a little meandering for the Eagles right now, and you have to wonder if the hiring and firing, despite all the excess, if the reputation has caught up with them at all for what they've gone through the last few years and not having stability among their staff, despite being a very successful team on the field. All right, that's it for me. I'm Geoff Mosher with another Inside the Birds Minute. Please subscribe to our Inside the Birds YouTube channel. And also, if you're listening to the Inside the Birds podcast with me and Adam Kaplan, please be a subscriber. Please give a 5-star review, rate us, leave us some positive comments. We really appreciate all your feedback. Thanks. Have a good day.